In today's comparison video, we are going to discuss about static versus dynamic parameters. In Oracle, how do you determine whether a parameter is static or dynamic? You generally use $parameter, and you can run a query like this: select name is sys modifiable from $parameter and filter per the parameter unit. If you see immediate, that means the parameter can be changed dynamically, and deferred can also be changed dynamically. The difference between immediate and deferred is the current session will also take into effect immediately, but in the deferred, the subsequent sessions get the change. And if you see false, it means it's a static parameter and you need a restart. So generally this is the process you use in Oracle world, and how to do the same in Postgres world. In Postgres, PG settings is equivalent to $parameter, and if you want to check whether a parameter is static or dynamic, you refer to the column called context. And if the context has postmaster, it means that it's a static parameter and it needs a restart. The other ones have different meanings, and we're not going to discuss that in this video, but for now just remember that if it has postmaster, it means it's a static parameter and it needs a restart. Next, we're going to take a look at two static parameters: shared buffers and max connections, and see how to change them. To begin with, let's see what is the value of shared buffers. Shared buffers in Postgres is equivalent to buffer cache in Oracle, and now it is set to 128 MB. And how do you check whether it's static or dynamic? Select name, context from PG settings, where name equal to shared buffers. You see, context is postmaster, which means this is a static parameter and it requires a restart. So to begin with, let's try to change it. Alter system, set shared buffers equal to maybe 256 MB. Actually, this is just for test purpose. In real time, you might want to set it to a higher value depending on your available RAM and your benchmark results. Now, do a reload conf. So this is needed for dynamic parameters, but let's see if we can change it online. So we did a reload and see the value again. As you can see clearly, it's still showing the old value. So whatever we changed didn't take into effect, and basically because the context is postmaster, there's one other useful command you can run. Let's go to this one and then add pending restart. As you can see, it clearly says pending restart is true, which means until we restart Postgres, the value of shared buffers won't change and the new value won't come into effect. So for static parameters, this is how you determine whether it's static or not. And let us go ahead and restart Postgres to see. So we restarted Postgres. Now clearly see that there's a new value now. So it took the new value after restart. Now if you run the same query, the pending restart is false and the new value is visible now. So that is what a static parameter means in Postgres, and how you can check whether a particular parameter is static or dynamic, and then how do you change it. So once you do Alt system, you need to restart Postgres. Let's check one more parameter. Select name, contest from PG settings, where name equal to max connections. So you can see that even this parameter is static. So be careful when you configure for production. Make sure that you set it to a value that is enough for your use case, because once you deploy into production, if you want to change this parameter again, it needs a downtime because we need to restart Postgres. So these are two static parameters in Postgres, and next we are going to discuss about dynamic parameters. Now let us see what a dynamic parameter is in Postgres and how to change it. We do show workmem. You can clearly see that the workmem is set to 4 megabytes here, and let's see if it is static or dynamic. Again, the same command, we just need to change the parameter name here, work underscore mem. You can see that this is not set to postmaster and this is set to user, which means this is dynamic. So how do you change dynamic parameter then? Alt system set workmem equal to 16 MB, and then let's do show workmem again to see the new value. You can see that it's still showing the old value, which is 4 MB, and it did not take the new value. Why? Because we need to do one more step. Select PG reload conf. This is required. So once we do that, if you issue this, you can see that it's 16 megabytes showing the new value. So this is how you determine whether a parameter is dynamic or not. Since the context is not postmaster, it is user in this case, we are able to do it dynamically without a need for restart of Postgres. And then one thing to remember is you need to issue PG reload conf for dynamic.